A lot of news breaking for September, and primarily it's going to be looking at some L2s today that will be, I think, interesting in the terms of how they're going to go forward, and it also could explode a few tokens, so you guys don't want to miss it. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back into Tech Path. I want to thank our sponsor today, and that is Coinbase. If you are brand new to crypto, this is your first time to go out and purchase, or maybe you are a crypto OG and you're just looking for a new exchange, check out Coinbase. All you have to do is visit Coinbase.com. If you've never had an account there, you can get up to $200 in crypto just for signing up using our link. So make sure and do that down below. It does help the channel. I want to go into a few points today, and we're going to get into the strategies that are starting to shift around L2, because there's a lot of movement now, and we're starting to see some breakouts in terms of actual use case. One of the things I want to just remind everybody is that Polygon, MATIC, is getting ready to shift over to its new token, and this will happen on September 4th. A lot is going to occur when this starts to transact. And of course, one of the things that's going to occur is we're going to see some movement over here, I think, on the token in general. So Coinbase to support POL, but on 8/26, just here around the corner, we'll be able to migrate the Polygon ticker from MATIC to POL on the Polygon network between 8/26 and 9/10. So you'll have some issues with sending and receiving will be disabled for MATIC on that network, so mainly just to make that transaction. So if you guys are out there doing that, just be aware of that. Something is going to happen, and it's all about around a project that is called AggLayer. And I want to go a little bit into what this is and what it means. So take a look at this clip.
Our goal by the end of this year is to have the AggLayer being the top interoperability solution in the market, 50+ chains, both EVM and non-EVM. We're going to have libraries that let the AggLayer be deployed on all major blockchain architectures. I have here a couple of OP stack chains, right? I got Zora, OP mainnet, Base, Mode. And if I wanted to go from one to the other, it takes a long time, right? This simple action of send 5 USDC from Base to Zora and mint an NFT takes 7 days and 5 minutes. Let's compare this to the AggLayer. In V2 of the AggLayer, which is coming later this quarter, it's going to be brought down to about 15 minutes. And with the V3 release early next year, we'll be going down to the sub 1 minute, sub hopefully 15 seconds range is what our current testing is showing.
All right, so this could mean a lot of changes on even some of the biggest projects out there, including Solana, because Firedancer, of course, which most likely we'll see a little bit of an announcement coming up at Breakpoint, but that could be impacted. I want to go further into this and get into a clip here that what does AggLayer enable? Take a look.
What does this mean you can actually start to do with it? I can send 5 USDC from ETH to ZK EVM. It's unlike a wormhole or a layer 0. There's no liquidity provider. You don't have these inherent downsides that everyone else has. I can deploy a governance payload, or I can trigger it from something over on POS to Astar. But again, to be clear, this is done through the canonical bridge. There's no additional trust assumption. I can take 1 ETH from ZK EVM and via the AggLayer not just send it to IMX, I can then send it and purchase in the same transaction. So we can start chaining these together into incredibly complex operations if we need be. I could take 100 USDC from POS, send it to Libre, go buy, which is an RWA chain, buy a T-bill over there, send that T-bill over to Canto, lever up against it to get notes, send that to ZK EVM, swap it for PYUSD, send it to Immutable to go buy a skin on a Uniswap game. And all of that is exactly one transaction from the user's perspective. I could go from Binance and directly deposit into gains on Astar. One click, one transaction.
So this is a big deal because right now, most of the leaps and jumps through hoops that you have to make when you're trying to acquire certain tokens require a lot of these kinds of maneuvers around wallets. All of that, I think, could be changing with this. Now, Polygon talks about a partnership that they're doing with Fabric. And this is important because this is where it could start to impede on Solana and what Firedancer is doing. Take a look.
It's the opinion of the Ethereum community, and we share in this opinion that ZK is really where things are going. Today, a ZK VM kind of runs at the speed of a CPU back in the 1980s, right? If we want to create an internet scale blockchain, we need to fast forward Moore's law a couple decades. This is the VPU. This is what we're building. The VPU, it's not an Ethereum mining chip. It's not a chip that only does one thing. You can write code, and the code can tell the VPU exactly what to do. It's got 10 times the GPU in terms of big operations, which are the most commonly used operations in cryptography. So we're not just making a chip, we're making a whole server that's going to go in data centers all around the world, the most advanced cryptography machine on Earth. We plan to scale to thousands of machines that we're going to be shipping starting later this year. And this is the card. This is going to be shipping. AggLayer was waiting for real-time ZK EVM in 3 to 5 years. We're planning to release this in 6 to 12 months in close collaboration with the Polygon team.
All right, so that is big news, because what you're looking at there is a shortened cycle of where technology evolution kind of goes from. If you just think about what NVIDIA is doing, what they're talking about is new compute power for crypto. When you layer that in with what's happening within Polygon, this gets very interesting in terms of being able to handle these transactions. All right, so another one that may benefit from this is Astar. So here's Soda talking about one of the execs over there. He's basically saying that, hey, we're going to drop a bomb very soon to move the entire industry forward. So we could be seeing possibly a computing evolution taking place, all centered around what's happening with AggLayer, Polygon, and maybe some things starting to move. Now, don't forget, gaming is still already over there. This is Wilder World. With AggLayer, this is going to open this up. And again, remember, Wilder World, definitely on Polygon right now. And they're also over at Gamescom, just in the sense of we're seeing a lot more activity on Web3 in mainstream gaming events. So another good news going forward. Here's an interesting one, because this is one we've talked about before, Crescendo, and this is on Flow. This is the most significant upgrade to the Flow network since its beginning. And one of the things that's going to happen, guess what? It's going to happen on September 4th. So very interesting timing with all of this. If you look further into, right here's a little bit of insight as to what Flow will do. And this essentially starts to open Flow up into what we're going to see in the Ethereum ecosystem, which is going to really open up a lot of opportunity. And I want to go to a clip here. This clip goes into a little bit more on how Flow will be able to integrate into more and more brands. And I'll explain how this all works and why it's important for every retail brand out there. Take a look.
All of a sudden, you want to start playing the game, you go back, bam, all of a sudden you need to have funds in your account to be able to sign a transaction. You're like, shit, how do I do that? You Google it, you go to some like payments on-ramp, you try to buy it, transaction failed. You're like, what? You end up getting on the bank with your fraud department 6 hours later, convincing them that everything's okay. Purchase, you go back to the game, all your friends are done playing. You're like, what? Like I was talking to someone recently who wanted to work with a meme coin on Flow. So they got the wallet, they went, they deployed the contract, they got it listed on an exchange, all without paying a single dollar. And they were like, how is this possible? How am I signing these transactions without having to pay any gas fees? The reason for it was because every application, even the wallet that they used to launch or deploy that original contract, all of them were sponsored using this proposer model. It allows companies to have loss leader approaches. The price of Flow is so cheap that virtually all of these companies are more than willing to take on the fees themselves to provide seamless user experiences for users. That allows for mainstream adoption.
When it comes to account abstraction, Flow launched with what was at the time the best user experience in crypto with NBA Top Shot. You just use a credit card, or you could come and pay with Bitcoin or Ethereum. But with one click, they can link an external wallet. They can take self-custody over their assets if they want, and then take that wallet into a universe of other applications. The implementation of account abstraction is different on every network, but on Flow, because we're layer one, it's built at the protocol layer and has been since the launch of the network. And so for 2024, we're excited to basically invite the rest of the crypto community onto Flow with what will be the biggest network upgrade since we launched the project. This lets us tap into the liquidity that exists, tap into the network effects, and we're also starting to look at new kinds of products that, in particular, start with on-chain logic, and then ask ourselves the question, what more can we do?
You're going to be able to go directly into the exchange, or I shouldn't say exchange, into the blockchain with a credit card or a debit card. So that will enable a lot of onboarding going forward. If you look at a couple of things here, I want to just show this technology within Flow, scriptable interactions without smart contracts. This is another scenario, and I want to highlight something that they focus on right here. Pre and post condition-based transactions check the network state before executing. So for example, a grocery app could use preconditions to check inventory for item pairs like salsa, chips before a purchase. But this could also flow into all things within a point of sale system, any kind of retail integration that is going to be riding on this that would enable these kinds of transactions to occur. So essentially what you're talking about is almost a new merchant service type layer that's actually tied into what's happening within the ecosystem of each individual brand. So I know it sounds a lot more complicated, and it, typically this is kind of the case with a lot of these early technology. If you go back and try to explain e-commerce, in 1996 to 2000, a lot of same scenarios. But I think that's the phase we're in right now, is we're going to see a big move for a lot of brands going this direction. So here's Starbucks CEO could reignite crypto foray. And just remember, Brian Nickel did a few things over at Chipotle. He had some crypto promotions over there. Remember Bitcoin burritos for Bitcoin. He also did Buy the Dip game, launched in Chipotle. That was in July of 22. This gave away about 200,000 in free crypto. So this is not new for major executives that understand the shift in the generation. And that's the thing I'm focusing on here, because this is the next generation of retail consumers. This is how they're going to interact with brands. So just an example, here was Chipotle's situation right here over on Reddit. And there was badges and things like that. But a lot of people were kind of giving up on this concept because a lot of these brands have not completely implemented this just yet. Now we're finally getting into some strategies that might be taking place. For example, this is a program that is integrated into Tekken 8, which is a gaming ecosystem. We've talked about this on the show before. Go back and watch some of our Starbucks and Chipotle's videos, because these are real life, real world use cases and what you'll be able to do with Chipotle. But for instance, you're going to be able to get merch. You'll have the potential for these medallions, possibly tokens, as well as rewards, avatar integration. This is all Web3 talk. It's all Web3 speak in the sense of how this is going to integrate. The next layer is transactions. And once that is solved, which could be Flow, could be Polygon, we could see a few more getting in the mix here, along with Solana, depending on what happens at Breakpoint. So we are in the genesis of what could be a huge breakout for consumer retail. So those are the tokens you guys need to be watching for. Be on the lookout for, I think, maybe a layer 2 renaissance. So with especially what we're seeing with Polygon. So be on the lookout for that. If you guys are not tuned into our channel right now in terms of subscribe, make sure and do that. Also, just like the video, because it does help others find their way over into the ecosystem of what's happening in blockchain. Follow me on X, @PaulBaron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.